Hello and welcome to the Wheel of Crime podcast. This podcast is run by two ladies who play games, shout profanities, and laugh way too often. Also, this podcast does cover topics of sensitive nature, and as such, listener discretion is advised.
Sorry, guys. I keep giggling at Emily going right before we started recording this episode.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I haven't listened to our own episodes in a hot minute, which is probably not, the best for quality control, but I'm pretty sure Jen trims the first little bit before our listener discretion off. But we test our mics, and I don't know, it flowed out of me. I've really been really been tapping into the music of my youth.
Exactly. But hello, everyone. My name is Jen, and welcome back to Wheel of Crime podcast.
And my name is Emily. Woo woo woo! We're back, and it's another new beautiful week here in the life of Em and Jen. Damn. So what has Jen been up to? I'm apparently a rapper now, so
That's what's new with you. I don't know. I feel so much more alive now that we're hopefully past the winter months for a bit. I'm not going to jinx that. I'm going to knock on wood.
Yes.
Speaking of being a little stitious. But I don't know. I have so many plans and like things to do after work on the weekends. It's like I'm a real person again.
See, for me, I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like I'm always not, like I have plans, but they're always loose plans. You know what I mean? Like I do have some things that I've set dates for plans, but as soon as the summer comes, I just get happy, and then I kind of forget that you actually need to like make a plan to leave your house. I usually just try to like enjoy it as it happens, which is good. That works too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm definitely lacking in events and stuff. So that's been my thing recently, is trying to figure out if there's any concerts that I want to go to or anything else. But nothing's really crossed my plate that I'm super, super feeling. Maybe I'll go to my first ever comedy show. I've never been to one of those. I don't know.
They're so fun.
Yeah, so
we should go next time you're in town.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I'm trying to do these things, which I guess falls in line with, I think we mentioned our New Year's resolutions this year. We're just being better people in general. So maybe that'll be one of them, which is I make a plan to leave my house. For the time being, yeah, no, I've just kind of been enjoying it as well. I pointed out to Jen before we recorded today that all of the birds came back where I live, which is crazy. There's so many birds, which is great. Love them. And then besides that, as far as like new things that I'm up to, I feel like I've really been working hard at the schedule thing. Because weirdly enough, since we talked about it last, because I feel like at this point it was a couple months ago, I was really struggling with getting a set schedule. I've been really easing my way in with that trick I talked about last week, which is just telling myself, you can't have opinions about this because this is just what you do. It is very... Like I say, it's weirdly helpful because it is weirdly helpful. It kind of takes the decision-making process out of a lot of things. So I've actually really helped with my schedule a lot. But the one thing I'm still struggling with is implementing different healthy habits that aren't doom scrolling. I default to doom scrolling so much, especially after like a day that's been like very mentally taxing. I feel like it's just, brain off.
Easy.
Yeah, brain off, plug in. But then when I'm plugging in to whatever social media I'm watching, it is also still stressful content. Like, it's not really like you're relaxing. You're just kind of mentally busy in a different way.
Yeah. I've also been struggling with that. I've been trying to, read my book or do a craft or go for a walk or something instead of the scrolling. But it's a struggle to cut that out. It's so fucking hard.
It's just so time consuming too. Like for me, my issue is like, oh, I'll do this. And then, like after like 10 minutes.
And then the time flies away.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, but after 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, I'll be done. It's not like I'll see anything really, important or interesting after that. But then all of a sudden, yeah, you look up and it's been like an hour and I'm like, what? No wonder my back hurts. I'm just literally hunched over like a goblin 24/7. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
For real.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, and I feel like besides that, yeah, kind of the same thing as you. I'm like I said, the healthier habits I'm trying to implement are things like because I do scroll in the morning when I wake up because your phone's right there. I'm like I gotta see what's going on and stuff, so I'm trying not to do that and read instead because the morning feels like a good time for that while it's still quiet. And then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just little baby steps. But going to the gym, huge. Can't believe I tricked myself into that. So I'm happy. I'm keeping that up.
Any progress, I think, is good.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, we've been yapping as we do. Yapping, I put
We
as
love
one of
to
our
yap.
favorite activities in Tomodachi life. That is the one thing that you and I get along about is yapping, funny enough.
Hell yeah. Me and Emily aren't friends in her Tamagotchi life, which is very sad to me.
No, well, my me wants to be friends with you, but you think I'm weird, which is also very on
Well,
brand.
I think that in real life too.
Yeah, I was like, which is super on brand. So it's just my me trying to be friends with Jen over and over again, and every single time it just falls completely flat or like whatever. But the one thing we do get along with, and sometimes our me's will go out to like the local restaurant for, is we'll go have a meal and then talk about yapping, and I'm like, yeah,
That's so on brand for us.
it's so on brand. They just got to figure it out, and then they'll be besties.
You gotta add in that we both love beating a dead horse, because that's also.
I need to, because there's no filters in this game. You can literally put anything you want. So I'm gonna have to add in some good ones. Also, we're in the same
Mhm.
fan club in Tomodachi Life. We are in the same fan club for Ryan Gosling. Also, just like real
Hell yeah.
life.
Exactly. But now that we've yapped about yapping, let's spin the wheel of questions, shall we?
Yes.
What is the worst family vacation you've ever been on?
Oh boy. Hmm. Hmm.
I can think of
I
mine.
Okay, that's good. For me, this is not going to be a popular opinion. The family vacations were always things that I didn't like to do anyways. So I feel like you're kind of competing
Why?
for the bottom at that point. So, to start with, my family was very big. So whenever we traveled, it was always like very stressful because there's 8 of us, and I was just really not
Mhm.
into that. On top of, it was just usually a lot of driving, being in the same vehicle for many hours to go see sites. I love the sightseeing part, but I feel like after you've just listened to people cry and yell for like 6 hours, you like get there and you're like, I don't want to be here anymore.
It
Um,
wasn't worth it.
yeah. So I have quite a few where that was my interpretation of them, but some good ones. But I wouldn't say that there's a one specifically where I'm like, oh my god, that was so terrible. We usually try to like make a spin on most of these things. So even if you were a little stressy or overstimulated about stuff, it wasn't the end of the world.
Mhm.
What about you? What's your worst family vacation?
Well, it wasn't really a full family vacation because both of my siblings at this point were older. So it was me and my parents. And I was going to goalie soccer camp in Vancouver. Or, no, in Kelowna, I think. It was one of those two. I can't remember. I went to one, I think it was in Kelowna. Regardless. And we had to get up really early to drive there. We stopped at a restaurant called Schmitty's, and there was this sign in the restaurant that said horrible food, bad or horrible service, bad food, warm beer. Meant to be a satirical sign, obviously, right?
I yeah.
Except for I got the worst food poisoning of my entire life.
See, at
And
that point, I'm
about
like, it's a warning.
it was so about 6 hours into this drive through the windy mountain pass, I have to stop to throw up about every 3 minutes.
Cute. Yep.
And it was the most excruciating road trip of my fucking life.
No, I feel like road trips, kind of like I touched on already with like a lot of my family vacations. Road trips are already hard in one type of way. Add in food poisoning or being sick in any kind of
Mm-mm.
capacity. Oh, awful. Like I haven't been on like a family trip specifically that I can remember that was like this, but I was flying back from Mexico after having heat stroke, and that was rough. That was
Yikes.
rough.
Ugh, that's just awful.
Wouldn't
Honestly.
wish it on anyone. Even my worst enemies, they get a pass on
No.
that.
No, 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 no. Okay, but let's spin for our next question.
Let's go.
All right, Em. Your new career in life is a salesperson. What are you selling? What do you think is going to make you the most commission?
Okay. Um it got to be something I know a lot about. Um I could go with the most obvious one, which is that I've spent 10 plus years working on fitness equipment, so maybe I could sell that. But then at the same time, it's like, I do be having good hobbies. Maybe I'm like trying to think of like what expensive hobbies I have that I know too much about.
Perfume?
Perfume's good.
French
Perfume's good.
perfume?
I could do perfume. Because I feel like there's not really a salesperson for like video games or like books, really. So yeah, probably
I mean,
you're right.
there is. There's retail.
I'm not counting. That doesn't sound fancy enough. I feel like you're on the right path with perfumes. I think that that would be a good one, I feel.
I would love to be an expensive wine dealer.
Ooh, wait, I know a lot about wine too. I feel like that'd be good.
Okay, we can own it together. This is our co-business.
Yes. Funny enough, I'm drinking wine currently. I'm having a Heron Cab Sav. It
Hell yeah.
is just okay.
Hell yeah.
But
And
yes, I
she's
also like
drinking
the
it out of
idea
a
of
mug.
yeah, I'm so fancy. So, but no, I like that idea, but the vision I'm having specifically is like, because we're in Canada, I'm just gonna say like you're like an Okanagan Valley, right? Your deal is you're selling like a very
Mm.
specific type of wine that can only be grown in a very specific type of vineyard that is like a vine derivative of an ancient variety from Italy that was brought here during the settlement period. Like I feel I could see you doing something like that.
I love that for me.
Yep,
I could see that for in my future as well. My
I do.
past, present, and future.
You're like I see that in my today, in my tomorrow, and in my yesterday.
Hell yeah. All right, let's spin for our third question.
Let's do it.
Have you ever witnessed something and you go to tell people about it, but they don't believe you, no matter how many times you reiterate it?
Girl, that's my fucking life. I don't know what it is, but
Same.
I have like even as a kid, like I would see things like people doing something, whatever, like you know what kids do. Or like
Mm-hmm.
as I got into adult, I'd be like, oh my god, the craziest thing happened. And every single time it would always be something that for real happened. And for whatever reason, people look at me and they're like, I don't believe that. And I'm like, do I look like a
Why would I
liar or
lie?
something? Yeah, that's my thing. I'm like, I could come up with a better lie than that.
Yeah. Oh, that's frustrating. I think I had that a lot as a kid too. That was because I was the youngest though. I always felt like my whatever my older siblings said overruled what
Mm-hmm.
I said. So they could gang up on me and totally make me look like a liar to my parents,
Nah, yeah.
which they fucking did,
Of course, of
by the
course.
way. What haters.
They are. They're your original haters.
They truly
Your
are.
ops. They're
Not
your ops for
anymore,
real.
kind of, but
You're like, they're not my haters anymore. I think. Most days.
that I'm aware of, at least.
Yeah, Phil's up till like 4 in the morning, twiddling his fingers like all menacingly at his blank computer screen, thinking of all the evil ways he's gonna prank you. You know, that part might be true.
Dude does my
I've met your
taxes,
brother.
so he could really get me.
Ah, yes. The most devious plan of all. Sending the CRA after my sister. That would be evil.
That would be horrifying.
Yikes. But no, that's too funny.
All right. Well, should we stand for our final question?
Yeah.
If you had to use a method of communication with people that wasn't a cell phone, what would you pick? You know, I'm thinking like walkie-talkies, those paper cups that were tied together with a string.
Okay, first thought?
Something akin.
First thought, messenger pigeon. Second
Hell
thought,
yeah.
with your suggestions, walkie-talkie. I like the idea of being like,
I like messenger.
Roger,
pigeon,
10-4. You know, whatever.
I also would really fuck with a handwritten letter written with like a fancy little quill,
like Bridgerton
you know?
style. My dearest
bring it back.
companion.
Bring back the letter writing.
We need more scribes.
If you guys subscribe to our Patreon, Emily will handwrite you a poem.
No,
Did you know that?
Won't. Emily
That's
doesn't even
in
own a
the
fucking
tiers.
quill.
That is in the tiers.
No,
you guys
it
can go
isn't.
check.
I'm
It
not
really
doing
is.
that.
It 100% is. And I will force Emily to do it for you. So go subscribe to Patreon.
And then I will edit it and it will say Jen's name.
I have to send a potato recipe per our original Patreon.
Wait, I totally forgot about that. Hey, I mean, you got quite a few potato recipes.
I have so many. So
More than I think the average person might.
subscribe to Patreon, guys. It's crazy.
Find it for yourselves.
All right, but now that we've gone off on a complete tangent, what do you think my story is about today?
I'm gonna be honest. I usually get hyper specific. No idea. But I will say crime.
You're right, 100% today.
Oh my gosh, it never happened!
See, Bag is the play.
I like my answers more normally, but I'm glad to finally have 100%. I feel like I've been flunking that test for all of this year at least.
For sure. But let me just get right into our story for today, because we've got a really interesting one.
Okay.
So, Natascha Maria Kampusch was born on February 17th, 1988, and was raised by her mother, Brigitte, and her father, Ludwig, in Vienna. She was a student at the Braunschweig Primary School, and Natascha's family included 2 adult sisters, 5 nieces and nephews, and Brigitte and Ludwig separated while Natascha was still a child. They divorced. She spent time with both of them and had returned to her mother's home from a holiday with her dad on March 1st, 1988. I don't know where that lisp came from, but I need it to go away.
Listen, I've been struggling with a full accent these last couple episodes that came out of nowhere and might just be a speech impediment, so I think this is just something in the air.
I think I caught it from you.
You did. It's very contagious.
So the very next day, on March 2nd, 1998. That's a whole 10 years of difference there.
Yes, it is.
Then 10-year-old Natascha left her family's residence, but failed to arrive at school or come home. It was later discovered that one of her parents had slapped her, and she was considering suicide when she left the house. So, Girlie was not having a great day.
That's a pretty bad day. Definitely.
According to the eyewitness account of Ishtar Akjan, then a 12-year-old schoolgirl, she reported seeing Natascha being dragged into a white minibus by 2 men. Ishtar is thought to have been the only person who saw Natascha being abducted. A massive police effort followed, in which 776 minivans were examined. That is probably every minivan that exists in the country of Vienna, if I'm making an educated guess.
Roughly. Maybe also borrowing some from the neighboring countries.
Potentially. They also, and one of those minivans included, or one of those minivans also belonged to a man named Wolfgang Pricklopil, who lived about half an hour from Vienna by car in the lower Austrian town of Strashof and der Nordbahn near Jenserdorf. Sorry, my Austrian is a little rusty, guys.
Yeah, you've got the Emily problem of many different names of things from different languages that may or may not be the correct pronunciation, but are probably not.
Definitely not. So, let's just take a sec to talk about Wolfgang. He was born on May 14th, 1962, and his mom and dad were named Karl and Waltraud in Vienna, and he was their only child. His father was a cognac salesman, and his mother was a shoe saleswoman. Wolfgang worked at Siemens for a time as a communications technician. So, when 44-year-old Wolfgang was questioned by police, he stated that he was alone at home the morning of the kidnapping, and police were satisfied with his explanation that he was using the minibus to transport rubble from the construction of his home. Speculations arose of a child pornography ring or organ theft, leading officials to also investigate possible links to the crimes of French serial killer Michael Fournet. And Natascha had carried her passport with her when she left, as she had been on a family trip to Hungary a few days before. So police extended the search abroad. Accusations against Natascha's family complicated the issue even more. So, what the fuck happened? I'm sure you're wondering.
Yeah.
On the morning of her kidnapping, Wolfgang bundled Natascha into his van and drove her to his home in the city's Strashof suburb, where he had constructed an underground bunker beneath a converted 9-by-6-foot car inspection pit in his garage.
Yikes. Okay.
Natascha recalled, quote, "It was like an Egyptian pharaoh conserved alive," is what it felt like to be in that little pit.
That is spooky. Oh no. Okay.
Speaking of mummies.
Oh. Yeah, that's freaky also, for me to do a mummy and then you're having a poor woman who's being treated like one. So scary. Yikes.
Yikes. So, a trap door in the garage led to a narrow flight of stairs to a basement room. The entrance to the cellar in which she was held was a small steel hatch concealed behind a cupboard. The room had no windows and was soundproof. Initially only allowed to communicate with her captor through an intercom system, she spent much of her time underground in complete darkness, which was interrupted only by a timed light switch. So she had no concept of day or night down there, which I'm pretty sure is classified as torture, actually.
I would say all of this up until this point is most certainly torture. But the whole screwing with your perception of time passing thing, yeah, big time. That's somebody who definitely gave this some thought, which is, in my opinion, always a little bit extra freaky.
Oh, we're getting there. He definitely gave this a lot of thought.
Ooh, wow, great, okay, haha.
So for the first 6 months of her captivity, Natascha was not allowed to leave the chamber at any time. And for several years after her captivity, she was not allowed to leave the tiny space at night. Afterwards, she spent increasing amounts of time upstairs in the rest of the house, but each night was sent back to the chamber to sleep as well while Wolfgang was at work. In later years, she was seen outside in the garden alone, and Wolfgang's business partner had said that Natascha seemed relaxed and happy when he called Wolfgang's house to borrow a trailer. After her 18th birthday, she was allowed to leave the house with Wolfgang, but he threatened to kill her if she attempted to escape or attract any attention. He later took her on a skiing trip to a nearby resort in Vienna for a few hours, and she initially denied that they had made the trip, but eventually admitted that it was true, although she said that no opportunities to escape had arisen during that time. According to Natascha's official statement after her escape, her and Wolfgang would get up early each morning to have breakfast together. Wolfgang gave her books, which she educated herself with. She did not feel that she had missed out on anything during her imprisonment and noted, quote, "I spared myself many things. I did not start smoking or drinking, and I did not hang out in bad company." But also said, quote, it was a place to despair," which is quite the quote. I mean, she's staying positive, but also, holy shit, that sounds horrible.
No, I feel like that's also in part just trying to look at the bright side, though, of your situation and being like, I didn't get exposure to these things. And it's like, technically true. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
She was given a television and a radio to pass the time, although she was initially only allowed to watch tape programs and listen to foreign radio stations so that she would not be aware of the publicized search for her. At one point, she tried to escape by jumping out of Wolfgang's car. A large portion of Natascha's time upstairs was spent doing housework and cooking for Wolfgang. Dietmar Ecker, Natascha's later media advisor, said that Wolfgang, quote, would beat her so badly that she could hardly walk. He would also starve her to make her physically weak and unable to escape. He also raped her. And I think it's important to note here that Natascha, for years, refused to reveal whether or not this rape with Wolfgang happened, and she insisted that she was not used for child pornography. The rape was only confirmed years later because the information had reached quote-unquote public domain in the form of leaked police files. So she really did not want that information out there, but I think she went on multiple documentaries to confirm it, to kind of take ownership over it before people just found out.
That makes sense, though, especially if you are made aware that that type of personal information is about to become public information. I can see, well, it's shitty to start that would even happen, but secondly, I am for the idea of taking, I guess, the power back in that, instead of having it just be this thing that comes out that you had no control over. To do it on your own terms is very empowering. And I will say, in a lot of the stories that you cover with victims of this specific type of violence, that it is like a kidnapping, like abuse, sexual sort of situation, there's so many conflicting feelings happening in that scenario that I can understand the desire to want to keep so many of these things private.
I also just think she's had so many things taken from her, you know, as a victim of a child kidnapping, that it just sucks that she couldn't even have this one thing to herself.
No, and it really ties into, I think, something that a lot of people like to forget about, which is that media is very predatory.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a system in which victims often can benefit from it if it is, say, something like a trending story that people want all the details on. More often than not, they like to take your rights and just kind of throw them out the window, or any sort of semblance of privacy or humanity that you might be able to glean from a situation, which is super, super shitty. And I think a lot of people, like I said, forget that aspect of it.
Agreed. So Wolfgang had warned Natascha that the doors and windows of the house were booby-trapped with high explosives. He also claimed to be carrying a gun and that he would kill her and the neighbors if she attempted to escape. Nevertheless, Natascha on one occasion fantasized about chopping his head off with an axe, although she quickly dismissed the idea. She also attempted to make noise during her early years of captivity by throwing bottles or water against the walls. She said that when out in public with Wolfgang, she had unsuccessfully attempted to attract attention. However, on August 23rd, 2006, then 18-year-old Natascha managed to escape the house. At 12:53 p.m., she was cleaning and vacuuming Wolfgang's white van in the garden when he got a call on his cell phone. Because of the vacuum's loud noise, he walked away to take the call, and Natascha left the vacuum running and ran away when Wolfgang was out of sight, which is really fucking smart.
Good girl. Oh my god, get it. That is so smart.
It'd be so terrifying, though. Like, I can only imagine the adrenaline rush she would be feeling in that moment.
Oh, just nauseating. Like, it would just be so scary.
So she ran for some 200 meters through neighboring gardens and a street, jumping fences and asking bystanders to call the police, but they paid no attention to her. After about 5 minutes, she knocked on the window of a 71-year-old neighbor known as Ing T, saying, "I'm Natascha Kampusch." The neighbor called the police, who arrived at 1:04 p.m., and later Natascha was taken to the police station in the town of Deutsch Wagram, and Natascha was identified by a scar on her body, by her passport, which was found in the room where she had been held, and by DNA tests. She was in good physical health, although she looked pale and shaken, and weighed only 106 pounds. And for reference, when she was kidnapped as a 10-year-old kid, 8 years before this, she was 99 pounds.
Oh, no, I don't like that at all. For many, many reasons.
Yeah. So her body mass index reached as low as 14.8, outside the normal range of 18.5 to 24.9, which is really low. It's really not good. And she grew only 15 centimeters during her captivity, which is not a lot considering you're going from an 8 or a 10-year-old child to an 18-year-old person. Like, you usually have quite a bit of growth in that period of your life.
Oh, definitely. And like you had said earlier, when you have starvation being used as a tool of control in these scenarios, especially with somebody who's literally 10 years old, this is one of those things that I would say is a horrific side effect of that. And I don't often like to just throw ideas or theories out into your stories because I imagine there is a lot of things that you're never going to really know, and there's a lot of questions that are left unanswered, and there's there's just so many different perspectives and layers to unpack. But a part of me would be concerned that while starvation was obviously used as a tool for manipulation and torture, if that was also intentional to keep her around 100 pounds to be the same weight she was at 10.
Gross. Yuck.
Not saying that I think that that would be the case, but it's also one of those things where you're like, if somebody is a sicko to this degree, it kind of does make you have those types of concerns.
I feel like you're about to have your theory semi-confirmed shortly.
Gotcha. Okay, the vibes were there, so that's kind of why I mentioned it.
So after Natascha's escape, Wolfgang fled in his red BMW sports car that was later found in a Vienna car park. Knowing that the police were after him, he committed suicide that night by jumping in front of an oncoming train near the Wien Nord station in Vienna. He had apparently planned... he apparently planned all along to end his own life rather than be caught, having told Natascha, quote, they would not catch him alive. Evidence recovery was complicated as Wolfgang's only computer was a 1980s Commodore 64, which is incompatible with modern-day data recovery software. So this guy just really fucked it on every level. Like, what a piece of shit.
What a flaming piece of human fucking garbage. Like, what? I'm mad. I'm so mad.
I'm pissed.
Nothing pisses me off more than hearing these types of stories and then also They're like, oh no, I'm dead now. It's like, you literally were
What
just
can you
seeing
do that before?
how you were seeing how long you could be a huge piece of shit for all these years, and just that was your solution instead of like, it just aggravates me to no end.
Same. So, police investigated whether Wolfgang had an accomplice. I don't know if you remember this from the beginning of my story, but the eyewitness said she saw two men in the white van that
Right.
took Natascha.
For some reason, I just
So,
pictured him, but you're right.
eventually they determined that he acted alone. However,
Okay.
this was despite Ishtar's, the only eyewitness to the kidnapping, still claiming to have told police on 6 occasions that another man was sitting in the driving seat of Wolfgang's van. Ishtar later testified under oath that police put her under intense pressure not to mention the existence of a second man, which is fucking weird.
That is fucking weird. The only I'm like going through my like rotary of crimes we've talked about in which that would be of interest to the police. Either that is somebody that they already have in protective custody and they cannot have more charges put onto him, or somebody the police know, or a police officer themselves, or a family member of the police. So,
Well, you want to hear something really intriguing? An
oh.
unanswered question that concerns the mysterious suicide of Franz Kroll, who he was allegedly an incorruptible Vienna police colonial.
Colonel.
How is that? How you say it? What's that
Colonel.
military term? Colonel.
Or colonel.
Vienna police colonel who headed the investigation of Natascha's case until 2010. So you want to hear something interesting about him?
No, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That year, the Vienna state prosecutor gave a press conference at which he declared that Natascha's case had been solved and that Wolfgang was the only perpetrator. Yet Franz was absent. 6 months later, Franz's dead body was found slumped on a terrace outside his flat. Police concluded that he had shot himself in the head, but Franz's brother Karl does not believe he committed suicide. He points out that a notebook the police colonel used daily to record his thoughts had mysteriously disappeared without a trace following his death.
How convenient. How convenient. Also, after hearing you say it a couple times, I'm pretty sure it's colonel. I don't think it matters. But at the same time, I don't believe in coincidences anymore, really. Like, I feel like I've lived enough years now where I'm like, wow, that's wildly suspicious. Why would that happen, perchance?
It's such a weird fucking quote-unquote coincidence, but
I've got both my squinty eyes on that. Both of my squinty eyes are on that. I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. So, Wolfgang's former bestie and former business partner, Ernest Holzapfel, was charged with aiding and abetting Wolfgang. And Ernest was ready to spill the fucking tea to the police, because this man was not happy about being involved in this shit.
I imagine. Yeah. All right, what does he got to say?
He told them that Wolfgang wanted a, quote, untouched virgin, whom he could one day marry to make up for his crooked nose and failures with women. Natascha was 10 when she was snatched in 1998. Quote, Wolfgang had been unhappy since boyhood because no girl had ever fallen in love with him. He was insecure about his looks, especially his nose, which he thought was crooked. He once considered cosmetic surgery, but in the end decided to spend the money it would have cost for an operation on building a bunker beneath his home.
That's fucking evil. You mean instead of a nose job, this man's like, I'm gonna build a kidnapping bunker under my home? You're telling me that the easier thing to do than to work on yourself physically, mentally, whatever the fuck, is to make a bunker? I don't know what cost bunkers are going at these days. I can't picture a world in which a nose job is more expensive than a bunker.
Especially something as elaborate as he had, where it literally looks like a thing to check the underneath of a car, but it actually has a staircase that goes down behind a cupboard into a secret room. Are you kidding me? That sounds so
That
expensive.
Yeah, even if you're, but here's the thing, if you're making it on your own, still expensive. Like, and then too, the other part of it is the only way I can see him rationalizing this in his brain, assuming that he has one or had one, I guess,
I
is
don't think
him
so.
being like, well, if I fix my nose, no woman will look past my awful personality. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Turns out I'm
It
just a
makes me
piece of
want to
shit, I
scream.
guess. So I'm gonna do what pieces of shit do.
Truly. So Ernest said his revelations about Wolfgang's motives were based on a so-called life confession in the hours before Wolfgang's death. Ernest said that he had spent some hours driving Wolfgang around Vienna in his car. Quote, he invested in the bunker. His idea was to kidnap a young girl and turn her into his dream woman. Before she escaped, Wolfgang had been planning a white wedding with his prisoner and claimed that he had been busy trying to procure false papers that would have identified him as a Czech citizen and enabled him to begin a new life with his bride, which makes me want to throw up.
Yeah, because that's vomitous. Also, I like that this is just like a casual idea he had. He's like, either I get married to this poor girl, this poor child that I kidnap, either I marry her or I kill myself. Those are my two options.
Or I get a nose
Instead of
job.
secret
Those are the
third
three
option.
options.
Yeah, instead of secret third option, which is get a nose job in therapy. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
That's what he should have done.
That's what I'm saying! Anyways.
So, I want everyone to take a breath, okay? And realize that every victim is going to process things differently. So, just, you know, I think it's totally valid for Natasha to feel whatever way she wants about this. She's the person who went through it, but let me just tell you kind of her thoughts.
Okay.
So she later sympathized with Wolfgang, saying, quote, I feel more sorry for him. He's a poor soul. According to police, she, quote, cried inconsolably when she was told that he was dead. She had grown feelings for him and she lit a candle for him at the morgue. She has, however, referred to him as her captor and as a criminal. Newspapers quoting unnamed psychologists suggested that Natasha might suffer from Stockholm syndrome, but Natasha says that this is not the case. She suggests that people who use this term about her are disrespectful of her and do not allow her the right to describe and analyze the complex relationship that she had with her kidnapper in her own words. Natasha is reported to carry a photograph of Wolfgang around with her, and while the court settlement in her case has given her ownership of Wolfgang's house, the house that she was kept captive in, and most of his possessions, which is not something I would personally want, but I also didn't go through this situation.
So, my take on this is kind of just following what you already said, which is obviously every victim is going to feel a type of way when it comes to the events that they go through, how they process them themselves as people, how they interpret these different things. And I can honestly see for her why she would be so conflicted in this scenario because being kidnapped at 10 years old, I feel like is such a formative part of your life. You're not even really a
Mm-hmm.
teenager yet. You're an older kid, if that. You know what I mean? Like you haven't reached those preteen
Yeah.
years. So now you're looking at the situation of a child who's been kidnapped, who then has to learn to live a life with another man. So this man probably in a way became like a guardian or a guide or whatever because this is a whole new life she's basically being
Mm-hmm.
educated on. So I don't know if there's necessarily implications of say him being like a father to her. I feel like with those types of things you don't really get to put a label on it because it's not really a spoken relationship, on top of the fact
Yeah.
of there being like, you know, a sexual component and him obviously looking at her as being like a partner or whatever you want to make of that. So for us, it's easy to look at this and be like, well, obviously the man's a sex pervert and, you know, a dirty moron and, you know, evil. But I think if you are looking at this as She's a child who was in his care for 8 years and only knowing him. I think that
Mm-hmm.
it's tough, especially if you also take into consideration, like, if he was telling his dude friends, like, no woman's gonna want me because of how ugly I am, how much of those conversations do you think he was having with her? Like, I think that if
Yeah.
you're in this position where, this is your life, you would in a way start to feel empathy, especially if that is the literal only other person that you know during that time. So to
Mm-hmm. And
not
especially,
to
yeah, it seems like she
yeah.
also came from a bit of a rocky situation with her family. I don't know
Mhm.
exactly the whole scale of what was going on there, but it seems like it wasn't always the most healthy. So I'm
Right.
sure that plays a part in it as well.
And even then, like, I feel like at the age of 10, there's so many things, right? It could even be like, it's as you said, it could be just there was already like a not super confident placement with where her life was currently at that might have been a part of this. It could also even be that, like, you know, at the age of 10, like, if I was to place myself in the mind of my 10-year-old self, and if I was to go through an event like this where I'm suddenly in the care of somebody else, regardless of what the context of what that might be, I think in a way I would feel abandoned by my own family,
Yeah.
even if that wasn't the case.
And because he wasn't letting her watch TV so she couldn't see the search, she might have felt like no one was looking for her.
Exactly, just like completely detached from like this concept of having a life back home with your family, right? You're kind of
Mm-hmm.
you're psychologically rewriting what your life path is looking like at that moment, even if you don't consciously understand what that even means yet at the age of 10. You know what I mean? So I understand
Couldn't
by
agree
what she's
more.
meaning by, like, not wanting to say it's these different things, because I think that the truth is that victims who go through this specific type of trauma are never going to be able to provide a label or a feeling or a why to some of the decisions that they make, because it's not like they're living a life that anybody else, well, you would hope, is living and would be able to relate to and be able to help guide them through those types of feelings. And at the same time, it's how do I say this? Captors in these stories that you share to me share the trait of being, like, it's almost like they're exploring a fantasy, right? They're exploring a
Mm-hmm.
dream. They're exploring something that lived in their head and now it's right in front of them. So for people who are victims, especially younger victims, they're basically being introduced into this fantasy and being told to play the part. Oh, welcome to
Yeah.
the theater. This is the role you play now. You get punished if you don't do it. And then at some
Yeah.
point it becomes like, this is my
The
life, right?
reality.
Exactly.
Yeah. But to wrap things up, a man named Ludwig Adamovich, which is a different Ludwig than her father, just to
How do
clarify.
you have, I
Because
was going to say, how do you have a story with two Ludwigs? Or no, the other guy was
there's a first for
Wolfgang. You got
everything.
a Ludwig and a Wolfgang. Do they both play the piano?
They must. So, this guy is the head of a special commission who was looking into possible police failures during Natascha's investigation of her kidnapping. And he claimed that at the time Natascha was imprisoned, quote, was always better than what she had known until then. Which is a crazy fucking statement to say about somebody who's being held captive, tortured, kidnapped, raped, etc.
That's a crazy thing to come out of somebody's mouth who isn't the person who lived in that situation.
Mm-hmm. So this assessment was denied by her mother, Brigida, and Ludwig Adamovich's statement was in a news report by a criminal court. His defamation conviction was later overturned on appeal, and in Natascha's 2010 book about her kidnapping, 396 Days, Natascha asserted that her mother was not abusive and that her home life was better than life in captivity, which
No
makes
fucking
total
shit.
fucking sense to me. I don't know.
like, obviously you don't want somebody to be coming from a shitty situation into a shittier situation. But it's so bizarre to me that somebody could sit there and be like, obviously the kidnapping was better than her home life. It's like, well, actually in her home
Like,
life,
shut the fuck up.
she at least saw, the sun.
Had friends, went to school, went on family
Had
vacations.
fresh air. Could, I don't know, choose what she wanted for lunch? Like, what are you talking about?
Was not sexually assaulted against her will.
Duh. Like, all these things, like, oh, I'm mad again. Fuck this guy, too. Ludwig, Beethoven, Wolfgang, they can all get
Fuck
out of
them all.
here. Fuck them all.
So in her official statement, Natascha said, quote, "I don't want and will not answer any questions about personal or intimate details." So
good. Protect your peace. Do it.
Exactly. The girlie deserves it. She's been through enough.
Leave her the fuck alone.
Fuck the Ludwigs. Fuck the Wolfgangs. Fuck the Ernestes. Fuck them all.
Yeah, the Ernestes, the Hemingsworths, the Beethovens, like I already said, they can all get out of here.
But that is my tale for you today.
Woof. Yeah, I feel like I kind of said my piece already on how I feel, especially when it comes to the more complicated end of the aftermath of a situation like this. But in a way, I also feel like him killing himself robbed her too. Like, not to say in a way of like, I think that they should have had the option of reconnecting. But I think if you are somebody, obviously not to implicate anybody into this mind space, but in the like world that we exist in where people think like this and live like this and want to harm people in this way, it is so crazy to me that you've built this fantasy of, care, a life, whatever, with whoever your victim is or whatever the situation happens to be or whatever it is that they're looking to get out of it. And then by taking themselves out of the situation, suicide, whatever, it's not a punishment to themselves that they're necessarily avoiding. Does that make sense? It's like, obviously they have a fear of the consequences to that degree to do that. But at the end of the day, what it's doing is just harming the victims further, which I don't know if that's necessarily the point, but it feels sadistic, right?
It does. It feels almost intentional. Like, haha, you're never gonna get one up on me.
Yeah, like, I got you. I'm sorry. You'll never have a way of...
You'll never have justice. You'll never get any resolution. I'm gonna make this as difficult for you as possible.
Yeah, exactly. Let me just drop one final bomb on your entire life, which I've already been fucking doing, and just make things worse because I can. Because it is within my power to do so. And not even saying that because I'm a big person on saying things like, the people cannot take things from you. That power is not theirs to take. It is like, you will always have the power to feel whatever type of situation that you're in that is within your control. Somebody cannot take that from you. But for somebody to do these things, as criminals often do when they've got caught and suicide is their way out, it is, to me, just like one of the more nasty ways of kind of like a final fuck you to the people that they've injured.
Yeah,
which
that's really what it feels like. Never
sits well with me. But whatever, I guess we could talk about that forever too, because you always talk about things that piss me off on this show.
It's my greatest joy. It's pissing Emily off.
I can respect that.
But that's the end of our episode today. Big shout out to our Patreon subscriber, Heather. Hell yeah.
Yes, another week here of Heather supporting us. Thank you so much, Heather. We really appreciate it. And that does bring us to the closing of our show. If you like today's episode, please make sure to leave us a review on wherever you're listening to our podcast. We also have our website, which is www.wheelofcrime.com if you want to check us out on there. We have our email, which is wheelofcrime@gmail.com if you want to send us an email. We have our Patreon, which is Wheel of Crime at Patreon. If you too would like to become a subscriber and get a shout out on our show, we have our social media, which is on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok, all at Wheel of Crime. And lastly, if you listen to today's episode and you're like, I have a crazy story about kidnapping or people named after old pianists, then you can write into the show and you can tell us all about it. And that is up on all of our social media pages. There is a listener's form up on there. You can submit an anonymous listener stories through there. And as I said, be a feature on our next listeners episode. We do not currently have a date posted. However, we do them throughout the year. So write in and get your chance to be featured on our next listener story.
Yes, and that's it. That's all. We'll see you next week for another new episode. Okay, bye.